Hello, hello, everyone. We're gonna get started soon. Hey, Dennis.
Hi, Brian.
Okay.
Here we go.
Welcome everyone to the inaugural episode of the AIxDesign podcast on landscape mapping. Hello, hello. Hey, friends. We're gonna get started real soon. Dennis and I are gonna start off by introducing the podcast, who we are, because you probably have never seen us before, and then we'll talk about who our special guests are for today. But to start, let's just describe what this is, right? So some context for you all. The team decided to launch this initiative to kind of map out the landscape of the intersection of AI and design. And so this is our podcast to sort of explore this along with the community and create conversation around the space, and really get to know the different members of the community as well. And we're super excited to be sharing this moment with you all. This is which will be focused on AI for design, which is super exciting, obviously. And season 2 is going to be focused on design for AI. This is our episode 0, as we're calling it. And this is sort of a beta to sort of test it out and try it out, because if you're not aware, neither me nor Dennis have ever done a live podcast before. So we're going to be bootstrapping and improvising, and hopefully everyone's going to be, along for the ride. It's going to be super fun. So I'm Brian. I'm a very recent member, in addition to the AIxDesign community, and I'm super excited to be here with everyone today. My background is very eclectic and has been around cultural spaces and emerging technologies. And I reached out to the AIxDesign community out of curiosity. And so now most of my time looks like helping out with videos and helping out with ad hoc things here and there, like this podcast. Dennis, if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Yes, thanks, Brian. So yeah, it's our first beta trial, and I'm Denize. I'm a media artist and creative technologist based in Amsterdam. I've been doing projects and installations and a lot of experiments with AI and AI applications and methodologies. And I have a background in computational creativity, giving some lectures and conferences here and there. So we get together in this podcast with Brian to talk about how AI shapes the space of design, how it contributes, how it disrupts the space, and how we can see and talk with our guests about it, and how we can foresee the future of AI and design together. So that's why we are doing this podcast, and then we are inviting our guests in this field. So yeah, and what I do in AIxDesign also, like besides doing a co-host for the podcast, I also do some projects with generative design, with mechanic, and yeah, that's more or less it. I guess we can maybe call our first guest.
Yeah, so also, by the way, I wanted to mention, if anyone in the chat has questions, feel free to ask them while we're having conversations, and we'll try to answer them in the moment or towards the end of the conversations. But the way that this is going to go, it's going to be very rapid fire, 10-minute interviews. We have 3 guests joining us today. And for our guests, this is a surprise, but the way that we're going to invite you up is by asking you to guess a number between 1 and 100. Okay. And the closest one to the number that's in my mind right now is going to be the first one to come up. So Nadia, Kwan, Ploy, feel free to shoot a random number in the chat. And we'll get started like that. Okay, 42. 36. Okay, so our winner is Ploy. So we're going to invite you up real quick, but just quickly to introduce Ploy before we call her up. Ploy is a business and product researcher and strategist, the founder of the Anti-Collective, which is focused on building businesses and products that are anti-racist by design. She's also an A1 since day one member and helps make sure the community is thriving as the general and community manager of AIxD. Okay, Ploy, give me a second to finesse and invite you. Okay.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Things are a bit frozen on my side. Can you guys hear me?
I think we're,
Yes.
yeah, I can hear you.
Great.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, friend, you look great.
Thank you, Boo-Boo. You guys look great. How do you want me to, what do you want me to do, guys? Talk to me.
Yeah, so maybe you can start by quickly introducing yourself and saying what you're into and what you've been up to, and then we can sort of go from there.
Absolutely. As I introduce myself, I just want to note that I saw a notification that my mom has joined this live session. Hey, Mom.
Hey, Ploy's mom. This is super special.
Also, Taylin, if you're still in the chat, I'm happy to answer your question as I introduce myself. I'm Ploy. I'm been serving as like general manager, making sure things run at AIxDesign for the last since the beginning of 2022. And yeah, really excited to test this beta and see how we can more readily share our work and insights that we've been doing for the past year across 4 different programs with the community quicker, faster than we've been doing in the past. So this is a great job, guys. Taylor, just to recap what AIxDesign does, community of creative technologists, designers, artists, community organizers, activists, folks who are traditionally and non-traditionally associated with AI. We're a global group, volunteer run, and we're exploring how we use AI in pursuit of things that might not generate revenue, but more specifically, things that might fuel our creativity or sparks of joy or help us pursue some social justice issues in the world. Really, it's whatever the community wants to do, like you. So let me know if that answers your question.
It also, I think, answers some of our audience's questions that wanted to hear more about AIxDesign. So thank you very much. And maybe we can continue a little bit with a couple more questions, such as, yeah, you mentioned a little bit like what do you do in AIxDesign and how we get together a little bit. Maybe you can also tell us a little bit how or what led you into the AIxDesign space. shortly, and then I will move forward to a little bit more deeper questions.
Cool. I also saw that my aunt joined. Hi, Auntie Debbie.
My aunt is also still here.
I love the family support in this live chat. How did I get involved? I believe that I was working at a design studio, that specifically worked in responsible data. So this org called Projects by If. Shout out to Projects by If. When me and Nadia got talking about the data patterns catalog that If curates and manages. So we're talking about, okay, what my AI patterns look like. This is still an ongoing conversation. So anyone who's listening who wants to help document and explore UX and UI patterns for AI interactions, hit us up. I know that there's existing catalogs out there, but none of them are community-led, and they're very industry first. So there's not like fun and spicy things like what might data transparency look like in practice. Anyways, that's how I got involved. I believe our first phone call was while I was on a beach vacation in Portugal. So this like speaks to the community nature of the group. We fit in when we can do the work wherever we're at, because most of us have day jobs. All of us have day jobs outside of this. So it's really a community of love and care. Yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yep. And good to hear, by the way. Like I think these small things also I didn't know. And I was wondering also, our next question, how do you feel AI in general, or you can also answer it AIxDesign, shaping the design space, and also vice versa, how design space is shaping AI or AIxDesign?
Great, I will answer that. And I'm also playing with filters because why not?
Because why not?
Why the fuck not? Yeah, so a lot of my research over the past 3 years has been about exactly this intersection, less on the visual side or the front end side and more the back end side. So just as additional context, I'm really interested in how business and revenue models shape the products that we build, including AI-driven products. And I've always come from design-led teams. And what I found really interesting is that, I wasn't there for the birth of the internet or like Web 1 and Web 2. What I'm seeing is like a lot of the products, tools, features that are AI-driven have been launched from a tech-first approach, right? Well, I totally get it, right? Because it's fun and very technical, and it's like the entryway into this new field. A lot of the lessons learned from, non-AI digital products and services, the product marketing stuff, the usability stuff, really hasn't been implemented at scale in this space. And so, I think the way AI is, personally, the way AI has influenced my design stuff, because I'm not a designer, visual designer at all, is I can like go and my favorite things have been text image generation tools, where I can spit out wild and crazy prompts in my brain. Also, anyone who's worked with me knows that I can go on brain trains, talk around the thing, would be really descriptive about this thing that I'm seeing in my head. That usually ends up being a ridiculous analogy or a description. And then what's really nice is that, an AI-driven generator can spit out some farcical, snapshot of my brain, which has been really fun and nice. So it's allowed me to express myself in ways that I wasn't able to do before. However, as somebody who works at, who looks at anti-racist approaches to revenue models and product design, I can also see really quickly, I know Ambika's in here, also Kwan, what's that? Exploring, you really quickly get to the seams and the boundaries of discriminatory or biased outcomes if you're putting in prompts that are not cis white male. So it's also been really fun to see what AI thinks of a generic term like Thai girls and how quickly it turns to porn. That's not nice. I mean, like, that's nice in like an interesting way, not like an actually feel good way. Or when you start talking about queer things, how quickly it gets into like kinky sex stuff. Yeah. That's why I think it's early days on like the application of design approaches into like AI-driven products, which includes like the model development side of things and product development of things that use AI outcomes, right? So like no one really gives a shit about the sorry, I guess some people might give a shit about it. Like how Uber creates its like price generator, right? Like how that technically works. As a user, the way I interact with that is in the user interface, right? And so like what I'm really interested in is how algorithms are used in products. And right now, not many conversations are happening across that whole AI product pipeline, right? So like model development as one part into the design and build of like the interface that we actually use. Mm-hmm. Like this one in my AR filters.
And then maybe also, Dan, do you think that's the most exciting thing for you in the AI space? Or as a last question, maybe I can ask, what's your favorite model or application or methodology in AI? This is very tempting to try out the filters right
now. To be honest, the most exciting things for me right now in this space are looking at, because we're like, it feels like questions that I've been thinking about, right, is like the delegitimizing of intuitive knowledge, the data science of astrology, which I know some folks are like looking into and stuff. What's really nice is that because you're at the beginning, this is an emerging space, right? You're beginning to like explore how these models work. And the more you explore it, the more that I explore that, the more I'm like, how is that different to, old ways of problem solving or finding patterns in data?
Design, also prototyping.
Exactly. And so the reason that I'm excited about this space is just because it's so new. There's not yet too many players in the space, and the players that are involved, I mean like most of our community. We're still like, it's early days, so we're all weird, wild, like get into each other's projects. And there's really good conversations to be had. So that's my favorite part, is that like everything's emerging, everything's an open question. There's no like solid answers yet. And it's just a fun place to play around in.
Lovely.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much for sharing all.
Thanks so much, Ploy.
You want me to head out? How do I head out? Do you kick me out?
Yeah, I think we're gonna dismiss you.
I think we can kick you out.
We can kick you out.
Language, dismiss. Hey, Teach. See you later.
Bye.
Ciao. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And who's our next guest? I think you can. Instagram allows if you want to stay.
I don't know how to leave.
Oh, okay.
Do we need to kick you out?
I'm gonna invite.
Well, see if you can invite someone in.
Yeah, Kwan's our next guest, so I'm gonna invite her in. But invite sent. As Ploy just becomes more and more abstract.
Yes.
Now I'm there.
Hey.
Yes.
Sorry, you had to see my lunch plate. Empty lunch plate. How's it going?
All good. Kwan, I'm gonna do the intro thing real quick. Sorry to do it in front of you, but you're great anyway, so you'll be fine. Everyone, this is Kwan. Kwan is a software engineer and currently an instrument developer at the Digital Society School in Amsterdam. Kwan is also an A1 since day one member of the AIxD community, and her work focuses on data strategy and computational art and philosophy of tech. So we have a whole bunch of interesting and exciting things to talk about with you, Kwan. Super excited to have you on the live. Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Welcome. After your introduction, maybe I can just like dive in with your first questions to warm you up. We can go like same with Chloe, and then I will ask you some different questions. Like maybe you can tell us a bit about what do you do in AIxDesign, how did you get here, what led you here, and yeah, your current experiences and maybe your next projects even.
Yeah. What I do now at AIxDesign is a bit more, I've taken a bit of a step back, doing a bit more of a supporting role, kind of like the hum of the refrigerator in your kitchen. So whatever needs to put on, whatever needs feedback, I'm usually there just to give some quick feedback or quick insights, things such as these, like one of the first toolkits that she did for her thesis. And at that time, I had just gotten started in design thinking, and I was working in AI computer vision, trying to implement a robotic production line in a factory somewhere in the Netherlands. And yeah, I was really interested in how Nadia kind of combined these two of like AI and design, and I thought it was an interesting approach, and I loved her work, the style, and so I reached out to her. And at some point, she posted, "Hey, looking to start this community. Who wants to join?" I'm like, yes, me. So that's how I got here. And what is the last question? What my upcoming projects, what I'm working on now? Is that correct?
Yeah, like also what did you do in general in AIxDesign space, and also like I actually also wonder, you can mention a little bit maybe what you did with project mapping, and then some small projects in here and there, and if you have any also future projects.
Yeah. Okay. I guess in my first year of AIxDesign, I was doing a lot more on like newsletter, and I think we started talking. Me and Nadia started talking about the AI landscaping project. Just something that came up. I just remember sitting at the train station with her after going to some events, doing some workshops together, and yeah, it came up, and then that ended up being the AI landscape project right now. And what I've done recently is the Poetic AI workshop Nadia just mentioned in the comments with Abdo, and we did it for a festival/conference, and we wanted to explore poetry as a world-building practice, but using AI as well, because Abdo and I were both creative technologists and are both poets, and it was a nice workshop to just get people to play around with AI tools, so OpenAI text generation, and then we brought it into text to image to create a video out of that. And yeah, it was we had a really nice output. And maybe just as from there, I just want to go into something I'm starting to look into more and more, so possibly upcoming projects as well. And this is also quite your field, Denize, with computational creativity, and not in the sense of like how can we make AI creative, but what can we do creatively with AI as materials. So looking at algorithms more from a material standpoint, and also with the perspective of play. And something I've been gravitating towards is also how can we use AI with the playful approach to tackle any existing power structures and to maybe find new structures that is more inclusive and yes, brings to light all the problems that AI has. So a bit like subversion, and that's something I'll be working on a lot more in the coming year.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Kwan,
And
is there anyone? Sorry, I was gonna jump in with
go ahead.
quick follow on. Is there anyone in this space that like really excites you? That's like contributing to that specific, like that's a very like specific like niche, I guess, subsection of AI and design. I'm wondering if you know anyone off the top of your mind that's like super exciting to you, or working on a project that's super exciting to you.
I feel like I draw a lot of inspiration from Andres Revskar. We also had a workshop with him. I just like the approach that he takes in terms of like the way AI is viewed as a material, and like kind of connecting different algorithms and models. In terms of subversion, I can't think of a name, but I have a list of projects that, you know, I'm like, oh, well, this is cool. And hopefully at some point next year, I'll have an exhibition with all these projects, but that's still to be determined.
Yeah. It's very exciting. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
And I'm also wondering, it's a little bit what I also asked the Ploy, but I think it's a very good question recently, because there are lots of new methodologies that we are being introduced to, especially what we use in design. And it was like, because you mentioned of computational creativity, it was always like, since the last couple of years, an ongoing discussion if AI can be creative, and if it can generate creative outputs. Now, especially with the GPT-3, we are seeing that, okay, we are there. And there are a lot of fears around it among creative people. But because, like, as creative technologists, actually, like for me at least, I'm using AI as a tool in more and more things every day. Not only for art creation, like not only in terms of data, and but also like using it as a go-to simple tool for generating some designs, like normally that would take a lot of hours, for instance, that you can just generate with AI by text, with text to image, super quick, or like text to text, etc. And among all these like tools that we use, and then the platforms or new methodologies, what's your favorite?
Oh, what's my favorite?
Or what is like, what do you use the most recently in general?
Well, because of my question and research that I'm focusing on now, I feel like I've been playing around with text generation a lot. So yeah, I would say that. And maybe second to that is just DALL-E Mini, actually, just to see how shit the images are.
Yeah, it's so fun.
I think it's more or less the same for us. Like, I think text to image is more or less monopolizing right now the AI tools and environments. And I'm also very curious actually to see like what's gonna go next. And maybe as the last question, or if you have more questions, Brian, you can also shoot. I was wondering like where are you heading next in terms of your projects, and what is the next thing that you want to learn, for instance, in the space?
Yeah, I think I also mentioned before, I'm hoping to well, I'm gonna go more freelance next year. So actually going full on in creative technology, whether that is with AI or not, just with emerging tech in general. Within the realms of AI, I hope to be doing more fun workshops, playful, creative, tinkering with AI, and to continue also what I've been doing the past years is also working with designers and business people. I guess now it's more focused with designers and artists, to just grow the literacy in terms of working with AI and letting people know, like, hey, AI is actually not that scary, and AI is actually at the beginning of it is artificial. So it's actually stupid because it can't do anything by itself unless you tell it what to do. And the genius part of it is what you put into it. I feel like I'm forgetting another question. Or did I answer all of that?
It answers more or less, actually. Like,
Good.
yeah. And do you have any questions for Kwan, Brian?
No, that was a fire way to end this conversation.
Yeah, it was a good way. If AI is your friend.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kwan.
All right. I also don't know how to leave this space. So
Don't worry, we got you. We're gonna go ahead and kick you out now. But
right.
thank you so much, Kwan. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next guest
is Nadia, I think.
And only Nadia, yes. I'll intro Nadia real quick before we bring her on. But Nadia is a designer and researcher focused on AI, machine learning, tech, digital culture, and creativity. She's also our fearless leader and the founder of the AI and design community, and currently heads creative technology at Depth. So Nadia, I hope you're ready. I'm gonna send you that invite now.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, that was much easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Very intuitive. Very intuitive. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just a disclaimer, I am everything but fearless. I'm scared all the time. But doing stuff.
You have a very convincing act if you're anything but fearless.
At least we can manifest it to be fearless leader.
Exactly.
And talking about that, I want to ask you the first question. Tell us a little bit about AIxDesign, how this journey started for you, and how did you get here?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I got very carried away with the filters there. Yeah, so how did I end up in AI design? I have a super mixed background. I didn't study computer science or design. So, you know, a very non-linear trajectory of arriving here. But yeah, most of my background's been in design, not so much graphic design, but like I started doing web design when I was really young, because I thought it would be a good, it was basically a good hustle, right? Instead of working in like retail or something. So I think I've been really interested in like just the internet, digital culture, coding, all these things. So I've kind of always been doing that. But, you know, swerving around, worked in the music industry, but whatever, ultimately came back sort of to that space. And then I was working a lot in design, sort of more like design consulting, like design thinking, innovation, kind of this space. And yeah, Marisha is one of my #1 fans from university. So I did a 1-year uni, then dropped out. And been freelancing really for most of my life. And ultimately sort of came back to this really deep interest in technology and specifically AI, because it sounded so weird and complicated and at the same time really important. So I decided to back then do my thesis around exploring what was the role of designers in shaping AI, as well as how to shape design practice. And that's still sort of where we are, right? So I did my thesis then, and I created this AI meets design toolkit, sort of sharing all my learnings with the world. And then from that came, so many questions and so many like research and creative interests that I'm still, in that space. And then I started the community in 2020 because I found myself sort of getting really deep into this topic. Oh, look, I'm still wearing a name tag because I'm at a workshop thing.
Nice.
Maybe I keep it on. Still sort of in that space because I feel like there's so much to do and so much to learn and create. Then started the communities to sort of start doing more of that, bringing people together, working on the same questions. And we're still here.
And then in all this, what's the biggest challenge that you are facing or you've been facing? And it can be like technical challenges and challenges in the AI or in the field in general.
Yeah, could answer that in so many ways. The first thing that comes up is finding a balance between being critical but not being paralyzed by it. So usually when I tell people like, oh, I work in AI, they're like, oh, I don't know, they act really surprised because I'm, they're like, oh, I wouldn't have expected that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't work in AI because I think it's so great. I work in AI because I think it really needs attention and care and like people to ask questions and poke around, that's definitely a challenge I see, sort of how can we be critical, but not just criticizing what is and what we don't like, but sort of prototyping or creating alternatives or starting new things that bring into being what we do want rather than, criticizing. There's definitely, space for that, but that's a balance I'm always sort of looking for. But then also not just like randomly doing stuff, right? And forgetting about the critique sort of and the critical thinking on the way. So that's a balance I'm always like sort of looking for. And another one is this more around like hosting a like platform or like creating programs and stuff. Is like, how do you make things that are accessible? Because one of the things I find really important is like democratizing AI literacy, getting people involved. So how do you keep the barrier low, but how do you also create a space in which people can move past an initial introduction and actually start generating new ideas, new narratives, challenging each other, for which you need more than like a basic level of knowledge. So kind of managing the depth or, like adding on to the conversation and making sure everyone can be part of that conversation. These are two challenges that I think are always on my mind amongst many other ones.
And then what are your then excitements or any I want to ask it actually, what's your greatest hope in AI's current disruption in the field of design? It can be can be a certain methodology that we've been using in the field in AI and design, and because also this is kind of the one of the driving points that we are doing the podcast, like AI for design and design for AI. So what do you think about that? The AI for design.
Yeah, so like most important challenges to work on,
Yeah,
or most excited about.
actually both. Like, what is the most excitement for you in the sense?
Yeah. Mm, I mean, one thing I'm really excited about is, yeah, people using, I loved what Kwan said earlier, actually. Like, it's not about making AI creative, but like, it's about using AI in a creative way. And something I'm really excited about is seeing people sort of like hijack the models and subvert them or like use them for counter purposes. So I think that's really exciting. People sort of taking this technology that was created for one purpose and just hijacking it for another. And that's mostly like artists and creatives doing that. Hi, Kathy. So I think that's an area I'm really excited about, and also a lot of the people we've invited doing the AI Playground program, we're sort of doing that, right? Like Emily Martinez, who would like retrain GPT-2 on queer literature because, you know, it has so many of this like normative embedding and produces weird texts. So yeah, them basically taking this tech and like subverting it, I think is something I'm really excited about. And then in terms of, so that's like AI for design. And then in terms of design for AI, I would love to see, more people really sort of challenging what algorithmic interactions could look like. So sort of, and I'm very practical, like, right? So I really like, I love manifestos and like philosophical thoughts, but ultimately I'm also like, cool, so users interact with this thing on a tiny screen with a few buttons on it. When we say like AI should be transparent or AI should allow for agency, I'm like, yeah, I agree. How do we do this? Right. So, and I'm seeing more people sort of pushing that train of thought, creating like speculative interfaces, not waiting for Google to implement something, but being like, oh, imagine what this could look like if, you know, we had this level of control, or if we could use these tools in a way that's more flexible towards our own purposes and like values. So yeah, this sort of like speculative UX, if that's, I don't know if that's a field, but I think it's a field. That's something I'm really excited about as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because it has to be. I mean, because it's very interdisciplinary, sort of, what we are doing in UX when we are using prototypes. And also, like GPT-3 is being used in even in Figma right now. To create, more or less everything. So this is something that I think what we are doing as well, like speculating on what other additives can be used. And then my last question would be a recent project that you felt inspired by.
A recent project or a project that I recently felt inspired by?
Tell me both.
Cool. I was thinking about this because I was like, oh, maybe like recommendations. I mean, there's so many. It's been a few months already, but there's two things that I like consumed this year that were really, I don't know, like really changed my thinking about this topic. One is like Atlas of AI. Classic. So it's a book, right, from Kate Crawford, and she basically breaks apart sort of this like physical and very labor intensive and ecologically disastrous infrastructure of AI. So we're always like, oh, AI is like in the cloud, and it's very abstract, and it's just this concept, and like it is, but there's very real sort of like computational power and structures of power underlying it. And this book, Atlas of AI, does the most amazing job at sort of telling this in a way that's understandable for everyone and really touches on huge topics, but always bringing it back to a way you can sort of implement in your own life. So I think that was really inspiring. And another one more like philosophically that I really enjoyed was Adam Curtis, like Machines of Loving Grace, or all watched over by Machines of Loving Grace. It's like documentary, like a small documentary series. It's pretty dense, but I really liked it. And it's going back a bit into like the early days of computing and the internet and some of the ideas on which this was founded. And even though it's not specifically about AI at all, I feel like a lot of the same paradoxes and struggles in those ideologies they apply, because data, AI, internet, it's all sort of like all shares the same like fundamental promises and challenges to a large extent. So yeah, Adam Curtis, Machines of Loving Grace, I think. And another project I'm really loving is Hugging Face, which is it's like also an AI community, but they come at it very much from like the tech and engineering space. And they are, just creating a lot of open source code, working with people who are willing to do that. And I think they're doing a really, important job of making machine learning like code more accessible and so on. And they also have all these like demos on the website. And I think their work is super important. And the name is so cute. It's called Hugging Face. So I love everything about it.
Reminds me of Alien.
Yeah, it's great. So these are three I like favorite things in this space right now.
We can maybe drop these links actually to the chat. That would be really nice. The documentary of Adam Curtis is really nice. I love it as well. And these are more or less my questions actually. And
nice.
If you want to, Brian, and if you have more questions, of course.
Honestly, thank you so much, Nadia. Always here. Y'all, this was episode
thank
0.
you guys so much for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Also, I know there's a few people here. I mean, if anyone has like questions, thoughts, whatever, pop it into the chat. But this has been a really great way of like testing out our podcasting selves.
I was also checking the chat, by the way, if there's any questions that we can reply about AI, about design, about AI and creativity, computational creativity related. But I'm not seeing any questions at the moment.
Great. And we wrap it, and or we spend a few more minutes playing with these filters.
With the filters.
This one is phenomenal.
That one is perfect. That one is perfect.
This is all I have right now.
It's really amazing.
But if there aren't any questions, I think this is a great place to wrap. This has been episode 0 of our podcast, or Mapping the Landscape podcast. We have many more good things to come soon. Just keep an eye out on the IG and our socials for announcements. And much peace and love, everyone.
Thank you for
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao. I think you need to kick us out, Brian.
I'm ending it.
Bye.
We don't know how to end this.